In the blink of an eye, Paul Greyrat's life is turned upside down. Teleported to the middle of nowhere with his infant daughter in his arms, Paul dedicates the rest of his life to reuniting his family. He fights long and hard, systematically scouring a large portion of a continent, saving countless people along his multi-year journey until he finally manages to find them. Rudius, Lilia, and Aisha, 3 missing members of his family, finally safe and sound. And with the help of a blue-haired magician, he now has the location of the final person he is searching for, his wife Zenith. Reuniting with his old adventurer party, Paul heads to Greyrat to dive into the labyrinth in which Zenith is trapped, and after many grueling months of failed rescue attempts have passed, Rudius stands amidst his father's old party, outside the room his mother is trapped in, as his father delivers one final speech. The years of searching, the years of fighting, the friendships formed, the people lost along the way, all of it culminates in a single line at the end of Paul's climactic speech. The line that defines Paul Greyrat, a father speaking to his son, saying something that a father never should. Save your mother, even if it kills you. These are the desperate words of a man who has failed and has no room left in his heart to fail again. As a child, Paul always hated his stubborn, controlling father, and after a huge fight he would later come to regret. He ran away from home and never saw him again. He was a failure of a son, but he wanted to prove that he was capable, which led him to a sword training hall run by Lilia's father. By his own description, his peers at this hall were pathetic, barely capable of surpassing beginner lessons, and once they learned Paul was chosen to marry Lilia, they would take their frustrations out on him during training. Paul vowed that he would one day show them just how good he was, but due to his very nature, he would never get the chance. Out of frustration at their unjustified egos and attempts to keep him in his proper place, Paul lashed out by raping Lilia, the person they all cherished, and then ran away from the training hall forever. It was a monstrous action he would later come to regret. In addition to being a failure of a son, he had failed to prove his worth, and he was forever a failure of a friend. After going on to become an adventurer, Paul ended up settling down with one of his party members, Zenith. The two of them wound up having a son, of which we all of course know. But the mismatch in his son's appearance and mental age, a quality that makes him so interesting to us as a protagonist, makes Paul constantly doubt his adequacy as a parent, rarely feeling as though he has anything of value to teach him. The first chance he thinks he has to finally step into his fatherly role blows up in his face, and he winds up hitting Rudius. And to make it worse, he ends up being a bad role model too, cheating on Zenith with his maid Lilia. A failure of a father and a failure of a husband. And then things get serious, the teleportation incident. After almost 2 years of searching, Paul doesn't get any closer to finding a single member of his family, and it drives him to alcoholism. By happenstance, he runs into Rudius, and it's Rudius who finds Lilia and Aisha. Without Rudius, he would have achieved nothing. But his brief interaction with his son in Millis reinvigorates Paul with hope, and he continues his search with an optimistic step until being beat down by months of failure in the teleportation labyrinth. Then comes Volume 12. The toll of Paul's failures are made crystal clear throughout the volume. Paul is in a constant state of self-deprecation. Practically every word he utters is a self-disparagement of sorts, an apology to Allies for causing their long-lasting feud, a constant stream of apologies to Rudius for not being good enough of a father, and words of self-hatred for breaking the vow he made to remain celibate until Zenith's rescue. And all of this leads us to his aforementioned speech outside the Hydra's room. Given this extensive context of Paul's life story, it's clear that in this moment, Paul is a man haunted by his perceived failures, and behind the door in front of which he stands is his final chance for redemption. He must succeed here. He has spent far too much of his life failing. He must succeed, even at the cost of the life of his son. Save your mother, even if it kills you. Now these are desperate, selfish words of a man who must not fail, but there is of course another side to what he is saying in this moment, an implicit message. It's clear in Paul's words that he sees Rudius not as a son to be looked after or a subordinate to be directed, but as an equal, someone to share the burden of saving Zenith, share in his conviction, an equal in the most important mission in Paul's entire life. These words, which reflect Paul's selfish desperation to prove he isn't a failure, are also words of pride and respect for his son, stated crudely and with extreme conviction in a quintessentially Paul Greyrat manner. Save your mother, even if it kills you.